go ahead and start the meeting with Great West Engineering regarding wastewater PER. Is that correct? Update?
Yeah, that's right.
And we do have Laura Dufield and Julia Robbins are also on this.
Okay.
Oh, they're online?
Hello, Julia and who else?
Laura,
Laura. Who's Laura?
our sanitarian,
Oh, good.
or environmental disease specialist.
What's Laura's last name?
Dufield, Duffield.
Oh,
She's right there.
Sorry about that, but then I thought about logging.
Nice one against Western for switching here.
I was afraid it would kick out.
Wait. Good.
Anyway,
Yeah.
there's two of them here.
Okay, sweet.
Handle the next week.
Some people
Yeah.
don't want to be here once. You're here twice.
Yeah.
Hello, Matt. Yeah,
Carry on. My meeting ran long.
I got distracted when you started bringing up football, so.
all right. Well, I
Western
think
Tech, anyways,
Matt's gonna give us an update on the wastewater PER.
yeah, I've got handouts here. It's way more than I'm gonna go over, but, I had an engineer helping me with this and it's a whole lot of information together, so
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
this is what I'm gonna use to kind of go through everything. Not gonna go through it in all, unless it would take too long, and this is not a public meeting, this is more of a, I would call this a work session.
Okay.
You know, it's the meeting that it could be open to the public, I guess, but
It is.
more of a work session, so it's informal question and answer, where we're at, all that kind of stuff, so. Just a background. Last year, you know, there was an interest in studying the sewer and our water in this area. Actually, it was initially started with the sewer because there were some meetings that Commissioner Peterson facilitated at the time, I think May and then December. Let's see. And then we had a handful of meetings and then the county also got a planning grant. The Veripod helped the county get a planning grant to fund this study that we're doing. It's a wastewater study. And I'll talk here in a minute about this survey that went out and some of the results that we're getting. Obviously, this is all the background information. This is like an outline of a PER. So really a lot of this we won't go over, but it kind of goes into the PER. So, under background public meetings, like I mentioned, we had one in May and one in December. The one in December was really well attended. That was like a packed house. Even that close to Christmas, there was, I don't know, we had a sign-in sheet, but that must have been dozens, 50 people.
Didn't that all turn to talk about the road?
It derailed a little bit because people were complaining about. We were there. Other things kind of came up, but by and large, there was a lot of Metal Lark residents there. There were also some Old Post, and there's some other people that were there. There was also the developer Harmon there that really expressed some of his ideas and stuff. So that happened in December. Since then, the county got some planning. NRC RGL, it's on page 2 now, grant for, I believe, 30,000. And if Julia's on the line, I can't remember if we also got an NSTEP grant or not. Not 100% sure, but
I believe it's just our GL mat.
so the match for RGL then is being matched by county funding status on this study. Not our budget. Okay, so this.
What was the match?
Wait, let me double check, 2 seconds.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
I have the same question.
These are some NASCARs.
While Julia's looking that up, I know you do have the RGL for sure. There were surveys, so now we're on page 2. We sent out surveys then the county helped with this too. It helped to get the word out, helped to we mailed it all out, we compiled the information, but the yellow area where it was kind of sent out, in July, 92 postcards. We have a due date. We've received phone calls, students, I think it's very strong opinions. I wasn't around when Meadowlark had a district and then developed district. There were some newspaper articles as well about that time, so. I think Meadowlark is an area that it doesn't sound like people really want to take done. Felt pretty strongly about that, but then sometimes people that are the most opinionated or have the strongest opinion. There's probably a lot of people that don't say anything too, that could be the opposite opinion. But we wanted to. So we're doing a sewer study and we're sending out a survey. We asked about water and we asked about sewer, just because it sounded like in the public hearings that people are pretty interested in what's going on with the regional water system. And if they could, that pipe that's gonna come through and connect to Haver, if there's a way to connect to that in the future someday. So that's why we put that in there as well, because there's gonna be water passing through there. And I think we all know that, you know, if you have septic issues, they also have private wells, and so they seem to kind of go hand in hand. There's as sanitary, you know, that you don't want to have septic issues around private wells, that kind of thing. So anyways, next page 3, we started getting results. The person that helped me put this summary together, they kind of pulled out some notable comments. You can read through those, and they also summarize which subdivision that person lives in. Some of the questions we asked. Now, we had a whole survey. You guys may have seen it, but we asked about their water, their well, if they have issues with their well. And we also asked about their septic tank if they had issues. We also asked if they're in favor of connecting to a public water system if one is available someday. So those were kind of the general questions. We also asked if they had problems. So like this table up here, 3 people said they have problems with their drain field and septic. This is ones that were actually willing to report it. 13 said no. The subdivisions. Have you ever had to install backup drain field? 3 said yes. It's like one in Meadowlark, one in Old Post. No. See there. And the other question was, would you be interested in connecting to the public sewer system? So 4 people did actually said yes, and that was 3 of them are at the Old Post. One not listed. And no, 13. Most of those are in Meadowlark. And then you can read the comments. One person actually says, I would love to receive city water. Someone said interested in water and sewer connection depending on the cost, to the tax rate. And they against waste of time. I don't need the expense. Whoever is doing this, the developer. I guess it redacted his name, but getting understands he did this for the money. People didn't give their names, but they could state what where they live, which was kind of helpful. And so I guess these surveys, the value of this too is because we were kind of starting from ground zero on, you know, we had these public hearings, but we didn't. I think we raised our hands at one time that we asked folks to raise their hand if they're in support of a sewer system, and most of the people Old Post at the time. You were there, Jake. It just seemed like for whatever reason, those people were in favor of it, at least that attended that meeting.
Old Post folks were, yeah. Meadowlark not so much,
Yeah.
but, yeah, Old Post, they seem to be, that was a warm reception, I think. Which I'm okay with.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, Meadowlark's biggest fear was, well, if we do this, there's a good chance we'll get annexed. And, you know, talking with Trevor Mork about it, Trevor was like, we have no intentions of annexing that. It's, you know, we have enough to deal with in the city of Havre that we already have without adding more. So,
Right.
and I think he's tried to qualm those fears, but
I think they will annex as soon as they start losing a little money here and there. Like they did, yeah.
I think there's
That's why
always
they-
potential for it to be annexed in.
That's
what
why they
people are worried
did that up there, that great big push for when they,
With the mall,
yep, the mall on that other side. But that could be 15
A
years.
long time. Yeah,
well, you get different people within the city government, that could change in a heartbeat.
And that's why I say there's always gonna be that potential.
right.
It's there.
Yeah, you.
People and circumstances change, so.
Yeah, it could be really old before it changes.
But this was really useful to kind of get a better snapshot of people's opinions, and sometimes people will respond to surveys or those that might have opinion too. We gotta have that, keep that in mind.
yeah.
And same thing with public hearings, like majority might be overridden by of the fewer people that have a strong opinion, but either way, we got more information, and so it kind of gives us an idea that what we once thought might be more of a regional sewer system, maybe it's gonna be looking like it'd have a better shot to be centered around Old Post, because if an RSID was to form, they'd have to, however you set it up, it would have to be voted on or election, like I think a protest, you can do it two different ways. You can do 50%, either more than 50% protest and it doesn't go through, or more than 50%. However you want to do it, there's two different ways, but I think it's easier to fail if more than 50% protest. But I think like the levy is gone through that. They had to do that kind of election with protest.
The problem with that is that people don't always understand it either, and that was the issue the city had when they were doing an SID, is they sent out a thing for people to protest. I think people thought they were waiting for like to vote yes or no, not realizing that they had or they had to say no, and not enough people did that. So I think, you have to be careful how you do that, that it's clear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it boils down to how people have to vote or protest. And I got an attorney's opinion about this a while back. I had a handout. Anyways, I can find it, but basically it's a legal process. And if the county initiates it, then it goes out to, if it ever gets that far. Right now, we're still in the study phase, but we were just trying to explore, like, you wouldn't proceed with the project if most people are against it, because what's the point? It would fail. It's like fail from day one, but something looks like people might be a little more in favor of it. Maybe it's got a chance, and maybe people wanted to see how much it could cost and what their impacts are to their taxes as well.
Mhm.
And how it would benefit them. And that's what we're doing. So that's what I have a little more information on that.
That was a major concern.
Yeah. So scope of a project then, now we're kind of focused more around Old Coast area. Okay, I'm on page 4 now, but if you did a sewer system and you connect to the city, in a study, we have to look at what's the downstream impacts. Because if you're sending sewer down to, you're gonna send sewer to the city, where would it connect? How much sewer would that be? And what are the downstream impacts? Well, I'm not gonna go through this in detail, but as you know, there's several pump stations or lift stations in the city of Havre. And if you sent sewer from Old Post directly east, it would go through several collection systems and 2 pump stations. So it'd have quite a ride to get to all to the plant. It'd go through the Nault, end up going through the Nault lift station, lots of piping, and then it ended up going to the college lift station too. And we reached out to the city, and both of those are, especially the Nault, is in rough shape. And it might be bumped up against capacity. College lift station might need some control upgrades too, so there. We would have to talk to the city to see. Maybe this project would have to share in some of that cost, because if we're putting more sewer to it,
Right.
it only seems fair that it would share in those upgrade costs. That, yeah, that's something that we'd have to work out. Okay, I'm on page 4 now, project planning. Old post, the average lot size is 1.17. If each home contributes 100 gallons per person, the average of 2.5 people per lot, kind of per census. I don't know how you count a person, but that's just their averaging number. So, with 29 lots, we came up that there could be about 73 people there. It wouldn't grow. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think these assumptions are wrong, but it wouldn't necessarily be any growth. There could be other lots near there that may want to, if it looks favorable, they could be in a district too. If they wanted to, I think we think out of the realm of possibility. See what else do we have? Looking at more of the existing system to get an idea of the age. People responded about the age of their septic systems. So, no response 4, but the oldest one goes back to 1970. And several of them are in the 80s and 90s. So we're still looking at 34 years old. History. So the soil profile is clay, not very favorable. We did get a statement from Clay, the Clay name, Clay Vincent, that provided some really useful information over 40 years. They've had systems fail. The soil of clay alone doesn't really allow water movement easily. It can swell. Engineering studies in the 70s indicated that drain fields would work fine, but the perk tests were done incorrectly. That's interesting. His recommendation is that sewer lines should be done before public water is available. Deal with the sewer first. And then the history in the area proves that the soils is type not good for private wastewater systems. So, and that's kind of in a written letter, which in my opinion, if it ever goes as far as like this area wants to look at improvements, maybe look at grants. Having this kind of information is super helpful for applying for grants, and I'm sure Julia could concur that written statement like that from a sanitarian about the history of an area, it has a lot of would really support getting funding.
I do concur.
Yeah, that's helpful, and then getting statements from people too if they're in support as well. And there's more about the flow information. So we're looking at maybe 7,300 gallons per day coming from this area. 3.2 on page 6. Now we're just getting into the city system. The reason we're looking at the city system is because you're going to be sending it to the city, and there's enough capacity with the plant. 2 of the lift stations that would go through are stressed. When we were originally looking at the idea of sending sewage out to 29 and 30 lift stations, that one seems to have pretty good capacity. But we kind of backed away from that option. I think the bottom of page 7, we kind of have an alternative we looked at for like a whole regional collection system going out to 29 and 30, but without metal large in favor of it, it just doesn't make sense to send it up to that lift station up there. Harmon may have some ideas, but like, I don't know. He's gonna have to share them. I don't know. I guess I don't really know how things get funded with the developer. Maybe he's just waiting to see where things go. But page 6, yeah, obviously, I'm not gonna talk about the discharge permit. Okay, section 3.4 on 6. Some of the problems, failing poor geological conditions, septic systems have failed. Okay, so page 7, there's the 2 lift stations. We don't know the capacity of those. They don't actually have flow meters in them. We did hear that the city is looking at doing a more detailed flow study on their sewer system because there's a lot of old pipe tube and some old lift stations. I don't know the timing of that, but we don't know. All they can tell us is kind of anecdotally, like, these are pretty old and they definitely have control and pump issues, so. And then, this project could be sending more sewage over there. Infiltration inflow, so if, say, Old Post did a system, that would be watertight, it'd be all brand new, so you really would get in here. City system, I'm sure it has rainwater getting in here and there. Old clay pipe and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so screened out, these didn't go any further, but this one option of, hey, let's have a big district that gets Old Post, that gets all the lots on the front, on the highway. LR can send it all. You'd still need one pump station and send it all up to RSID 2930. That 2930 has enough capacity. This is like an $8 to $9 million project. And I just, it does, I don't know if it would have the votes to do that.
Yeah.
Even if you got some grants, it would still have to form an RSID. And if more than half the people are not in favor of it, it doesn't have a good chance. It's a big project. Obviously, the more users you have, the more you can spread the cost, but the more users you have.
More votes and,
Yeah, but there wasn't that many users,
That one may have had,
was there?
is it 100? You pick up these commercial lots, you pick up Harmons, and they're like big lots, but you would have a vote for the number. It's per lot
Mhm.
because he's not subdivided yet. This was a technically feasible option. I mean, it really could have worked, but I just don't know if it would pass the muster of the public being in favor of it to get the votes. Plus an $8 to $9 million project and the impacts. Infrastructure is not cheap. This is all brand new infrastructure. It's not like replacing or updating anything. It would be expensive. So
That's a large chunk of money per person per
It's-
year.
a lot of money. So it got screened out. We looked at it at first. Then collection system alternatives were being screened out. You probably heard of step systems, that's septic tank effluent pump. So where you keep the tank and then you have a pump on the end of it and you just pump the effluent to a sewer system. It's done in some places, but you still have to pump sludge out of the septic tanks. You do away with the drain fields. They still gotta deal with sludge. There used to be more of these, but now you're seeing more like low pressure systems. I'll talk about in a second. There's no way to do 100% gravity system for Old Post because there's a hill you gotta get over, so you just can't. That just works itself out. You can't take it all. Just pipes. You have to have a pump. On page 8, do nothing for collection. I mean, do nothing is always an option. The community could just say, oh, this is interesting. This is a good study. Let's just, thanks county for doing it, but we don't want to do anything and let's just put it on the shelf. And Great West says, thanks for the work, but nobody wants to do anything.
yeah.
It's a very safe design because it never gets built. Or another one is low pressure system. That's, if you look on page 9, the way a low pressure system works is instead of like, these are a newer thing that you're seeing more and more of. And, so right now they have septic tanks and drain fields. Those would go away, both of them. And so the sewer would go into a grinder, like a 3-foot diameter grinder pump. And it grinds up and macerates all the wastewater and puts it in like a 2 or 3 inch line. Then you don't need a big lift station that just, they're like, positive displacement pumps, and they all work together and pump the wastewater to the next point. Benefit of that is you put the lines in like water lines. They're no more than 6 feet deep, so if you go over any topography, it's cheaper. So each lot, you would install one of these grinder pumps. Right, kind of, because right now they go house, septic tank, drain field. You'd have a grinder pump in between the house and the septic tank, and they would just intercept the flow.
No strange person.
One grinder pump. They use about a 1 horsepower pump, and they basically they work pretty good. Just some communities aren't used to them, but some they're being used all over the place because they can be used in environmentally sensitive areas. You don't need to have a gravity collection main where it gets too deep. You don't have to build a $500,000 lift station and all that maintenance. It's basically each house gets a small grinder pump, and then you wire it into each house. So it'd be like they would pay for the power.
And how much are they like?
The cost of them. I mean, I have a total cost estimate here in a second, but I think, they would pay power about as much as a TV or microwave.
Yeah.
And, their districts or communities will set up operation maintenance different ways. It can either be the owner is responsible for the pump, or it could be the district responsible for maintenance. And maybe you give them like conditions, like, to make, because you can't really, it's hard to police what people put in the sewer. But if someone's gonna jam up a pump, and it's only one person doing that, like there's something about that. So you kind of have these conditions that say, okay, we will handle so many calls a year. I don't know. Something like that. Cause normal sewage would get conveyed by these, and these are all houses, I believe. So that's what this option is, what you call LP, or low pressure sewer system. No major big lift station. It's just all grinder pumps, and they all work to get it to the city. And I won't go through all the costs on page 10, but that's, you have construction costs, and then you inflate it to a couple of years down the road. And then you have engineering, you gotta pay those expensive engineers, and then inspection and permits, and then grant admin and all that stuff. It's like a $1.9 million project. That's one option. And then,
Less than an element. Less than our age.
yeah, so the next one would be, well, let's say just all a conventional system like you're used to seeing, just with manholes, sewer services to the main. The main gets to be 10, 12, 15 feet deep. But then you need a lift station, kind of like you guys already have in all these. Every one of those ones, 11, 21, 22, 29, 30, they all have collection systems and lift stations. And from the last few years that lift station projects aren't cheap. Those were $500,000 to $750,000 just for the lift station. So on sheet 11, we would have the gravity collection system of manholes. There's a county parcel in the middle. I don't know if it's a park parcel, but if you were to put a lift station, maybe it makes sense to put it in there, because then you could have the pipes flow to it, and then from there you pump out. And then you just have services. So they would still do away with it. Their drain fields and their septic tanks. They would still, the service would go to the pipe. And then it'll all go gravity to the lift station. Back to the city, so that's that concept. If you look at the cost, it's more expensive, and the reason, a lot of that has to do with you have these $500,000 lift station. And a bigger force main, bigger pipe. So your two viable options, one is a low pressure system, and one that like a collection system in the lift station. I guess both of these threw $100 in there for updating the null and the MSC North lift stations. Don't know how much that's gonna cost, but that's common. But what's different about these is you got this deeper pipe, costs more to put in, you've got manholes, you've got the lift station. And as you all know, a lift station requires more power, so you have to run power to it. And pay for that power. The low pressure system, the owner pays for the power. So even the O&M could end up being cheaper in an LP system than it would be for a collection system, because you're not dealing with that big lift station and the power maintenance. That kind of was eye-opening for me, but if you ever, people just probably aren't familiar with grinder pumps, and they'd probably be like, what the heck is this thing on my lot? But the cost shows it to be way more favorable.
Well, they're not that big a thing.
Yeah, it's only, it looks like a septic tank lid.
Yeah, they're not.
It's a
that
small
big.
pump. And then all that space that where they had a septic and a drain field, that would all be abandoned, and, it wouldn't need a backup drain field. It would just all go to the city. So you have these, other options for treatment that were screened out as a community drain field, like a community system, but we don't want a drain field because it's poor, it's clay, or a lagoon. And I don't think anybody wants a lagoon. There's not enough land over there. And then you got birds, and then you got odors.
Laura will be really busy.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, you could do lagoon, but then you still might need acres. They'd have to buy some land, and they'd have to have an operator come to that lagoon, and then
Yeah,
It is-
we already got 2 lagoons of the Highland,
Mhm.
right? 2? Or is
Well,
there 3?
Hingham's got their own, Red Yard has their own. I think Guilford does, Kremlin don't.
We don't want to have a lagoon.
Right.
and whenever you're next to a city
I don't think.
and they can treat it, I don't know. I don't advise like a lagoon system right next to the city or an airport.
Because they used to have that same problem sitting out there in those fields behind. When there was problems back there the same way.
Yeah. And those got screened out for the reason, it's like, what? Whenever we do a study, we go, well, these are all the options you could do, and then, yep, we list the problems, and then how do you fix the problems? So that's the process we're going through. It's the problems are people have their sewer issues out there. The solution that would be to connect to the city that is viable. So there you have it. I mean, I'm not, 13 kind of goes into more detail. So you've got an option that's on the table. 14 kind of talks about options. So here's where we're at. I mean, if you're looking at Old Post or even adjacent, it could pick up these houses down here, or it could pick up other ones that don't have sewer. The district doesn't have to be on one subdivision. People are in favor of it or not. So a $2 million, say you run $2 million for capital costs. People are gonna ask, well, what does it cost for me? So if you did a 20-year bond, And they come out of their taxes, assessed out of their taxes, and you can set up assessments different ways. It could be per lot or it could be per area. I guess I don't know the math, but we could do the math. But you have to pay for the project, that comes out of a bond, and then you also need maintenance coming out of your RSID to set aside that. And that's charged to the users, and then also, the city will charge too.
Yeah.
So they'll charge treatment rental.
$512 a hookup or something.
There's probably a one-time fee, and then there's probably also,
They charge, I think it's
An
like
annual fee.
500 and something per hookup.
need to ask the city what that is, like. Cause, in the study, we'll have to do an analysis to what would be your annual cost per user to build a project, to maintain it, and then to direct it to the city.
And I absolutely hate that when you go by square footage on the front, because some people really get screwed on that square footage.
Where grants could come in is they could offset the capital cost. So I'm glad that Julia's on phone, because if say you have that people are okay with doing this grinder option. I mean, they could still do the collection option. Not really, I don't know, you'd be paying for a bigger project, but maybe people just don't want grinder pumps. I don't know. But anyway, say you do go with the $2 million project, there are grants that I think a project like this would be competitive for health and safety and for like protecting the environment or protecting natural resources.
And I agree with that, Matt. I feel like we could for sure get an MSEP construction grant as well as an RRGL construction grant. And we'll look at other ones as well.
Yeah, that could offset, depending on what the average income. I guess standard would probably have to use county data, right, Julia, just the county MHI, median household income, unless you did a income survey or something, but.
I think that we would rather use county data because I think the county well, I'll have to look and see. I don't think that if we did an income survey out there that they would qualify for like RD.
CDBG or
Maybe CDBG, we'd have to look.
just takes time to do those income surveys. We attempted it on our side. And yeah,
okay.
that was hard.
Took a long time
Mhm.
and not a whole lot of response.
Yeah, people are like, not really in favor of telling how much money they make.
Especially in a form of government.
Yeah,
Julie, were you able to get that match amount? Did you
Yeah.
locate that?
we have
So you have both an RRGL and an MSEP grant. So you have 30,000 from RRGL and 40,000 from MSEP. So 70,000 total.
so you're 100% grant funded study then.
Matt, when do you assume you'll have that finished?
Is the term date by the end of the year for these grants, or is it?
Zero match?
Yeah,
Yeah, correct, zero match. RRGL is matching MSEP. The MSEP grant is funded with ARPA money, so it will need to be done by the end of the year.
Okay, well, that kind of lights a fire on this.
mhm.
One thing we do have to do
Do.
is we'll have to have a public hearing again. And then there was the question too about the airport area.
Yeah. Do you recall last time we were talking about the airport area also?
See those people, I don't know how much response we got from airport area. But I can't remember,
in the meeting, it was favorable,
Favorable for sewer?
Yeah.
Or for water?
both, definitely water.
Okay.
Because right now they don't have a water system up there.
No,
Yeah,
that was it. It was only on water.
Water? Yeah, it
Okay,
seemed like it's
water.
definitely in water, which that could almost be like a separate PER next year.
right,
Cause I think there's a couple of years before this water system comes in, or it's being built, but
yeah,
when it comes live, and maybe they should. Just my thinking out loud, but a water PER would benefit. To know how much it would cost, say people wanted to do a water on our site to get these areas.
mm-hmm. Cause right now, our airport doesn't have fire suppression because there's no water.
Wasn't that the reason that we were putting these together or something? Because they were coming together?
Well, I thought this PER was for water and we.
It's just, it's only wastewater, right, Julia? This is just wastewater PER grant.
Correct. Yep. When we were. Oh, no, that was a different project. So sorry. The planning grants only allow you to do one or the other at a
Yeah.
time. So it's either water or wastewater. And so we applied for wastewater. And you can't switch it once it's applied
But
for.
many of them don't want both because that makes the city annex.
Oh. Yeah,
So they only want one or the other, otherwise they'll get annexed.
I think
Okay.
the airport area wanted water.
water.
They're more focused on the water.
Well, maybe this gets wrapped up, but then maybe there needs to be another study on water, so to know how much those improvements would cost and a roadmap for that, but this is wastewater only. And it just, the way it kind of shook out, it started with only Old Post area in the May public hearing when Mark facilitated, because someone came to him, I think. People did come to him, and then once we had the December one, then all showed up with water. And we did the survey for sewer and water, so we could definitely, the water could be a lot bigger area, it really could. I think it's. But yeah, okay, to Julia's point about the term date being at the end of the year, we're almost October. We'll have to wrap up this study
Mhm.
and
Right.
have to do one public hearing that we'll have to schedule, maybe that's in November or something.
I hate to interrupt. There is a John waiting in the lobby. I don't know who that is, so.
Welcome, John.
So if you have a couple $1 million project, you could potentially get a 500,000 MSTEP grant, 125,000 DNRC grant. That helps offset the costs, makes it easier. And then, those are due next spring, they're due in May. And then it's biennium with the legislature, so if those got awarded, they get ranked by the state, you don't know if you're gonna get the money until 27.
Mhm.
It's a long game. And you wouldn't get the grant till 27, design it 27, they'd be like 27, 28 before it would be installed. That's just how the process works, but you can get grants, so that could cut out $625,000 cost to users. And with the PER, we'll run the numbers, so people know
Right?
what does it mean to me? When people are asking how much will that cost me?
Yeah, because there's not very many people that would be in the thing.
It would, I mean, their taxes would go up by a certain amount more if they didn't get the grants. But the benefit would be they're on a dependable public sewer system that might help their value of their lots.
Yeah,
They never have to worry about backup drain field. It's gonna help protect against any contamination of their wells. With the neighbors' wells. They won't have to worry about overflowing any of their drain fields. Or they won't have to pump their septic tanks anymore. I mean, people should be doing that every years. But they won't have to worry about that. The grinder pump. Basically, the maintenance on those is that you replace the pump about every 7 to 10 years. So,
That's really good.
and they're a couple $1,000. So it's, in a way, it's almost. Well, I mean, it depends on how you set up a maintenance district too, like that could just come out of the maintenance. Or the RSID, or it could be on the owner. It's probably a lot easier for people. If the RSID covered the replacement pumps. Probably easier to accept than. If people knew they had to pay a couple $1,000 every 7 years. And. Power is not a huge deal. I mean,
You're
it's
right.
like, it's like an appliance. It's like, yeah. Appliance it takes on every once in a while.
$1,000 really isn't. Not very much money when you think about it.
They're a couple $1,000, I think. Replacement pump.
Yeah, it's just, doesn't seem like very much money to be worried about when you have to replace.
So our next steps would be, I guess we need to look, kind of decide generally when we have a public hearing. We'll have a draft PER together by then. And I suppose we could have it go to RSID, or not the RSID. Old Post area and then maybe the surrounding area or something like that. I don't think it has to go as broad as the last one.
I think we should make it so it's not, we should have a better idea closer. The end date it needs to be turned in more like the 1st of December.
Cause this is not gonna be a survey, it'll just be a hearing. We'll have a hearing. And then following the hearing, we'll wrap up the report.
Okay,
And
so. Then that would mean like November 19th, we could have a public hearing.
Why the
Or-
19th?
Yeah.
Just,
Just curious.
Okay, November 13th.
no, I'm just curious.
I don't know.
I think we should look at our calendars before we just throw out a date.
No, I am only doing a suggestion thing so that we can get an idea going.
So like the 2nd or 3rd week in November is what you're suggesting?
So that we actually
Yeah.
get this all done before the 29th second, and everyone's dashing around wondering if we have it done.
Yeah, you don't wanna have to do your hearing in December and then that doesn't leave much time for us to get it done. I like the idea of maybe the week before Thanksgiving.
Because then so then if there's something that we have to correct, we have time.
Yeah.
If we let something out, so that left something out, that's why I'm saying, let's do it.
So I think what we could do is put that on our next working session and come up with a date.
Yeah.
Can't you just look in your calendar now?
Do it at the county fairgrounds again and,
Well, we need to take a look at, if, where we would have it at, what's available and.
Guess we come up and bring the PowerPoint and everything. Just like all the other ones, I think the week of this. November 17th would be,
We can see what we have available, meeting spaces.
good in the evening, probably. I'll throw that out there that the week of the 17th works good for me. I'm looking at my calendar now.
Just so that we can make sure in case we miss something and don't get it done, because we have left stuff sitting on the table before because we don't have it done.
Around the holidays, you get so busy too. It's
Yeah.
hard to
Exactly.
Get people together, but after Thanksgiving, it really is difficult.
You're in the hot Christmas
Yeah,
season.
I mean, what kind of, we
Even the week
left a lot
before.
of stuff laying on the table because.
Well, these get wrapped up because of the ARPA money's tied to one of the
Mhm.
grants and we don't wanna put that at risk.
You're very right, and
So the
that's why I
weekend is
keep
10th
saying
and
that
14th.
first of November or something.
I like open for us.
Yeah, it's pretty open, our typical meetings, but
So like that first of November, that.
There's no late night. or that week.
Which week?
The 10th through the 14th.
Yeah,
I think
is
there's a
that,
fair commission meeting on the 11th. But that's, probably-
That was like the week before Christmas then.
and that might even be the 18th, actually.
let's do somewhere between November 3rd and November 7th.
November fifth is completely open to us, but there's an election on the fourth, right?
Yeah.
But
I think
remember,
we,
this
I
is,
think we narrowed, we'll check dates and then we'll narrow it down on the 29th.
That's the Thursday.
it has to be. I just said evening, remember?
Yeah,
Right,
So it doesn't,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know, if we're loaded up a day, even though it's an evening meeting, it's kind of nice to get
Exhausted.
prepared for
Yeah.
the evening meeting, so that way.
I'm just reminding you, it's evening, he said.
yeah.
When you're looking.
Has noticed any difference in attendance based on the weeknight of meetings? Not so much.
Not really, I mean.
Yes, that last one that had a great attendance, what day of the week was that?
No,
Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
19th of December. Just.
I
6
was
days
thinking
before
of-
Christmas. That was crazy.
Right,
We were so surprised.
Wednesday is church night.
Yeah.
It is?
Did it Tuesday or
For you?
Tuesday and
Most-
Wednesdays
most of
are
them.
church night.
18th?
what day is?
Well, I
the
have
people
scouts on
vote?
Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I think we just have to take a look and see what's available, like especially like with the check wagon, what their dates are. Cause I know sometimes when they get closer to the holidays, they're busier too.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why we can't have it down here in this Timmons room.
But when you,
because when we had our last meeting, we needed the chuck wagon, like there was that many people.
Why don't we
We're
have
not
it
gonna-
in that community center building that we own?
Have it in a rug yard?
no, the community center up at the fairgrounds.
Oh.
No.
I was like, wait a minute, what?
I seen that look like. Are you fucking
I mean,
crazy?
I'd be closer to home, granted, but.
Whatever you guys wanna do, I'm open. I agree. I don't think we should wait till after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And maybe not at the beginning of the month, because elections.
Okay, the week of the 10th.
Yeah, it shows the 12th that we're wide open that day.
Yeah, that's
How about that? The week of the
That
10th.
Wednesday's the middle of the week.
So,
And I'll talk
Again,
with Frank
we'll
tonight.
check,
Or
see what we have available for meeting places.
I'll talk with Frank tonight when I go to the Friday meeting with Joni. If they have the community center open and if you want to check
I
with
know that the,
extend.
last year during the winter, they had pickleball up there quite a bit.
Because you can always put a triangle telephone too.
Oh, yeah, there's lots of places.
There's tons of places.
I think it'd be good to maybe like target this area where, we'll post maybe mailers or something.
Heck, let's have it at Northern. I mean, it's right there up by Old Post, so.
Yeah, true. That you possibly want mailers sent out before the meeting.
We have the absolute minimum is the paper twice,
Yeah.
but nobody reads that.
Yeah.
And,
Actually, when they're looking for stuff, they do.
the radio maybe,
Radio gets,
yeah.
We can have it over here at Vic's new place.
Are they open yet?
Yeah, they got this big room. A big
so we had
meeting
Terry
room.
Turner's retirement party.
Yeah.
Did you go?
Yeah, no.
Oh.
But
We
they've
can have
had,
it
they've
open
only
like
been
a
limited
thing.
things, but yeah. We'll find a place.
Look at how much turnout you might get.
Yeah.
And look at how much it would help a local business.
I really do think this would have a good shot at getting some grants. Project. Just newer projects. Helping a system that's, especially if you got some written letters from people
Mhm.
saying, we're in favor of this because of X, Y, Z. And you've got sanitarian.
Oh,
writing
let's
a
not,
letter.
we better not use this one guy's letter. That looks kind of rough.
You would add, you would put in the in favor people. You could get letters from your representative, senator, commissioners, I mean, yeah.
We could ask them for,
Verify.
you like this project or you do not, and if you don't, oh, we don't want to talk to you.
But it's really in their driver's seat, if they have to, they would have to vote it pass. County's just, you guys are just trying to,
We're just still facilitating opportunity.
yeah. Anything else on this? Like, any thoughts? I was surprised to see the grinder low pressure system.
Yeah.
So favorable. I'm actually doing a project right now in Craig, Montana, where we're converting from step to grinder, low pressure. It's more and more common. Like there's community of Lockwood outside of Billings, there's dozens of houses that do that.
I never heard of it.
Yeah, I think it's just educating people what it is and how it looks, but they're a lot cheaper because the pipe's shallower. You don't have big lift stations.
I mean, I just redid all my subjects.
That's not cheap to septic and drain field is what,
I just,
10,000 plus?
and that was like 5 years ago. No, it had to be a little more than that.
Yeah. So prices will go up.
And so, yes, and that was when I was doing. Like,
Yeah,
So are we done?
I think that's it. Unless you guys have any questions or comments,
so, yeah,
recommendations. I think there's a viable project there. People want it.
Our next step would be setting up a public meeting and then we go from there.
Let me know and I'll plan on it. We'll get a study drafted and we'll go from there.
Sweet.
That's all I got.
Thank you.
All right.
Coming up and sharing all these updates.
So we're done.
Yeah.
Yes, meeting adjourned. 2:01.
I didn't know our meeting. This over.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you.
no, you weren't.
No,
Jake,
you're ready.
You gotta go coach.
I do. The 6-man world that it is. You went to that game, huh? I watched it on TV and I was
Yeah.
like,
Copper game.
oh, opening kickoff I was like, oh, there it is.
Oh,
Who's
yeah.
game?
Yeah. Western